Alright guys, it's me again, Melikachium. I hope you like my previous lecture and kind of urgent message to everyone how to stay consistent and how to believe to yourself from my most recent experience of playing in American Open. And round 3 I beat Jankowski, as you saw in my previous lecture, and this time, round 4, I actually played against one of our youngest star in California, one of the brightest kids in California, Varun Krishna. Varun recently won a state championship and he is progressing very rapidly. He's doing great, and I think today's days his USA rating is something like around 2400, which is really impressive. So when I played Varun, it was round 4. I had 3 points out of 3, and he had 2.5 points out of 3 by beating in round 3 a very nice game, international master Larry Remlinger. So, and since I had a very tough game, and to me, honestly, to play 2 games in a day, it's becoming an issue, kind of hard. So I've been trying to settle myself to play the game against Varun positional chess. I said I would try to be a very dry person in this game. And since I knew my opponent's primarily choice is to play Sveshnikov, I said I took this weapon from my friend Andrei Matikosian. So I played this knight c3 by kind of waiting. And typically people who play Sveshnikov, most of the times they played here e5. And I was going to be like this. Bishop c4, followed by that, followed by this, followed by that, followed by this. So this kind of annoying positional chess, holding my castle, improving my knights, controlling these light squares, and then considering making castle. At some point, obviously playing a3 and making sure this guy will be in the game and make sure no one get traded. So I was going to play that way, and then I was surprised a little bit when my opponent played d6. So, and when I played those kind of autopilot moves, then I recalled some of the early games of Varun, and I recalled he might actually play if against my main weapon Bishop c4, which I've been playing for many years. He might play some kind of crazy either Velimirovich attack against me, which pushing me to play Velimirovich, or Queen b6. So, and since I already had a tough game against Jankowski, I said no. You know what? I'm not going to change my attitude. If I came to this game to play, to be positional teacher, because I'm kind of teacher for Varun, and I said, I'm going to play this. Normal, solid, decent. Varun so far blitzing out his moves. We have done this very quickly. And again, I knew this position obviously because I've been playing this for many years when I was young. I knew the main idea to play f4 either right away or after king h1. But again, I recalled one of the old plans, bishop e3. The idea behind this is actually not completely touching f-pawn. You don't touch your f-pawn. You actually deal with these lines as you deal against neither formation. You want to play bishop f3. You want to defend this, defend that primarily, and then you plan to play this. Every time when black plays a6, b5, you always play a4 and stop b5. You will never allow black to play b5. And then this guy will go on c1, strange square, but the right square, preparing jump and preparing c2, c4 move. That's kind of system. It's kind of well-known system. It's been playing majorly, like mainly against neither setup, but it also could be applicable here for sure, because it's very hard for black to play d5 anyway. So I thought that's going to be my plan, and I played here bishop e3. By figuring out this plan, I spent quite some time because again I wasn't really ready for this opening from my opponent. And I said, this is going to be cool. Bishop e3, and my opponent made very quickly move a5. It's funny, when I was young, I used to play this Boleslavsky system, and I used to play a7, a5 move. And Even when I was young, one of my game, which had been published in a book from a legacy of Ivan Petrosian, I played against Rosenthal, Alex Rosenthal, back to when I was at maybe 12 or 13 years old. And I played this A5 move. I was so proud by making that game. I won that game. And I remember Petrosian said immediately to me, but do you know, have you seen the famous game how Spassky lost in this line to Karpov? And I said, no. Well, he said, before being proud of your game and playing this move in a game, you actually first go ahead, study that game, and then play it if you would like. So, and then I studied that game, and I kind of came up to the conclusion, I mean, A75 is a very responsible decision. It kind of gives away all light squares. I mean, A75 is actually very smart in case if your opponent will play A2, A4. Because if you play A4, then it gives knight very comfortable position to be on B4, to defend D5, and to support the 65 move. But if white doesn't play A4, then I guess black has to be very precise. If black doesn't play this position being very precise, then they could be in trouble. That's exactly what's happening in the game for Varun. So Varun kind of knew tactical points of this move, but he never bothered himself to study like general concepts, ideas behind this move. And that's why, guys, it's a message to everyone. When you study your lines, especially when you're making those pawn moves, kind of important, decisive pawn moves, which makes a big changes in your pawn structure, you have to understand exactly the concepts, what's the ideas, what's going on here, because you're responsible to know all those details. I played an Knight immediately kind of saying to my opponent, so why you play A5? Remind me, there is no more A4, right? So there is no more still D5, because if you play D5, you can say, hey, this guy left the square, I can play D5, but hey, after this, I mean, I thought this is clearly better to me, because I'm dealing with these squares, and I don't think so black actually solved the problem of the opening. I still believe white's clearly better here. So Knight E2, kind of forcing black to make this natural move bishop E6, and now the first big challenge, Knight C4. Why it's a big challenge? Because clearly white knight is going to get improved. White knight's trying to reach B6 square, and from B6 completely control D5 square. I mean, if I can manage that, then black will be in big trouble. So clearly the way how black's supposed to be thinking in this position is this. All right, my first choice is D5. So before I'm going to consider what to play next, I need to make sure D5 is wrong or D5 is right. And if you guys try to improve, improve yourself, I would suggest to actually, before you guys continue to watch this game, I would suggest to make a pause here and try to understand, try to calculate what did I prepare for D5 move. Because the result is very important. If you're black and you're trying to play this position, you're first responsible to understand where are you after D5 move. Are you happy or you're not? So now I'm going to show you what I found in my calculation at the time when I played Knight C4. Because at the time when I was playing Knight C4, I knew my answer pretty much on every question of mine. So D5, my thought was to capture, kind of most forcing way, to capture, to attack. And speaking technically, I thought with my kind of technique of playing endgame, especially by knowing who I played, I knew these kind of situations, it's supposed to be close to me to win this game. I can actually play C3 right away, or after bishop C4, followed by C3, pretty much similar. So I know, you know what, I'm going to get this position, and then from the close look, I'm going to figure out what exactly to do. But I knew one thing, 2 bishops, 3 on 2 on the queen side, supposed to giving me like a big advantage. Not like winning, but very pleasant, put this way, very pleasant put this position for me to deal with. So I knew d5 is not an option. I knew d5 is going to be a bad decision for my opponent. And I knew rook h6 is not acceptable. You can't really play rook h6 just because you're trying to control b6 square, because rook on h6 is so silly. And since you use principle of elimination, you will figure out this is also not good, at least because you can play this and this and that. And now if you take, you give up exchange. If you take here, this is completely a disaster. You can't really play that position. So from using principle of elimination, I knew my opponent will figure out move b5, which my opponent did it. He made the b5 move here. Again, he's 2400. I kind of expected. And now, while my opponent was thinking in this moment, I knew b5 will come. And this is what I'm trying to share with you guys for your future. So I knew b5 will come. And I knew, let's say, if I'm going to put this position as a position and say to you guys, how would you play? What's the right choice? What's the right move here to play? Its position, just its position, then move is right, knight b6. Why? Because knight b6, knight d5, it's kind of, secure. Finally, your knight reached d5 square. But if you do have any experience of playing Sveshnikov, then you'll figure out, hey, you know what? This is so freaking boring because black also fine. I don't think so. Actually, white has, real advantage. Maybe they have some tiny one, but you know what? It's almost nothing. It's almost nothing. So I knew, since I'm trying to challenge my opponent, because always remember this, in order to outplay your opponent who is you believe it's weaker than you, the only way you can outplay him if you're always giving him a choice. Because if his options are limited, then he's going to be fine. Because, he's not an idiot. So he's going to, in general, he could compare to be even as a strong grandmaster if his choice is limited. But anytime, if he has to make a choice between 2 or 3 moves, then at some point of the game, he's going to pull up the wrong moves. So I knew I must take this, which I made it, and I knew a challenging move to play f3. Why challenging? Because now black has to make a choice. And now important for you guys to understand how to make a choice, how to make the right moves. And I'm sure beginning of this puzzle, my opponent started well, but then he fell. Let me explain to you. So he clearly understood d65 kind of first option here to consider. Why? Because recently we've been making moves about d5 square. It was all about d5 square, all about d5 move as a breakthrough, as a freeing themselves. But I think in his calculation as well as in my calculation, because these moments I was actually sitting also in a kind of, since I was behind in time from the beginning, I knew to catch up time, I need to use my opponent's time and sit down, not to walk too much, and try to really focus on this moment and try to get back a track. So what I found here, and I'm sure the same position my opponent have seen, I said this is what I'm going to play. Very nasty move, knight c7. It's all about d5 square and still controlling light squares and pushing black to play this. And after this amazing shot, I thought, I'll be very happy to play this position. This is what I reached in my calculation. I said I have better pawn structure. I have this, dealing with this double pawns in the middle. In fact, computer was giving this like 0.20, 0.30, something like that. So it means black still has a nice way to defend this. And I actually agree, by the way. I actually agree because I believe you can either capture on f1 or leave it, doesn't really matter. But after some point, play a5, a4, putting 2 pawns in the light squares, and then bothering white by attacking b2 pawn. I think black has quite good chances here to maybe save this game. But again, again, I thought this is going to be a comfortable endgame to me, and in general, I am better endgame player than my opponent, so, I was happy to have this position. But I still believe d5 is an option. And then, as more I was looking to this position, right, I understand, if we believe d5 is a bad move, then I think next option is simply go back. And before to convince myself how terrible or good is this, I need to calculate like move this, right? Which is like in principles I have to make. But then I found very strong move knight d5 in my calculation. And I said, oh my god, if I play bishop c5, I might deal with this crazy move. And now this like everything could be like in price. So I said to myself, if my opponent will figure out that, I guess I'm going to simply back down a little bit and play this position. Well, when I was looking for that position, my evaluation was this is about equality. He's going to play here, probably I will capture, and something like this. Black has a really like strong situation in the middle. White has two bishops. It's kind of dynamic of equal situation. I don't think so. Neither of sides are better here. So I said, okay, if my opponent will figure out this kind of puzzle, then you know what, he deserved to, I guess, equalize the game. And I guess if this is happening, I would try to propose a draw maybe, and then go home and have a rest and collect my strength and play the next rounds. It's a long tournament. I was amazed. Shocked, to be honest. Shocked when my opponent made his decision. So this move never crossed my mind. Because put this way, if we look for position 2 moves ago, and if we believe this is designed to jump over here and to control light squares, if let's say black will think about, how important for them to stop knight b6 move, then I guess I need to add next option for black to capture on c4. But if you remember, I never mentioned this move because this is not mentionable. Because you can't give up your bishop who defends your weak square for this guy. It's better for black to make white knight to reach d5 square and keep your bishop on e6 than to give up your light colored bishop just because you're afraid for white knight to reach d5 square. So since you kind of admitting this fact here and you understood how important for you to make this move, then how could you get back to that decision and still capture on c4? If 2 moves ago you admitted this is wrong, this is bad. So it kind of doesn't make any sense. I couldn't see the logic. And when my opponent took it here after this, I was actually very happy to see it. So I immediately grabbed these light squares. I immediately tried to control light squares. So this move's kind of forcing. Like before, still wants to play d5. Then obviously I'm not gonna let. And next moment, even computer again gives a different option. My way of thinking was this. I clearly considered 2 moves here. This or this. Knight d5, it was nice move, but at knight c5 I couldn't see any improvement. Because if you take, jump here, that always bothers by playing knight e4. You always need to defend this. If you move the pawn, defend that. So, and plus, knight wants to go back on b6, attack this, play d5. So I wasn't really happy with this position. So I said, this is clearly smarter because it stops d5. It stops this because this is, I know from Ruy Lopez type positions, this is clearly in favor for white. These pawns are nailed. This bishop is bad. My bishop is monster. So this is like almost plus minus here for sure. And this, after knight e4, my opponent took it. He jumped. And another move, which I was surprised to see from my opponent, knight e4. Because I thought bishop g5 it's supposed to be just done. I told my opponent afterwards, and I said to my students when I was kind of presenting this game, I said many years ago I played against a young kid with name Hikaru Nakamura, and we play some wild type of Sicilian defense position. We played in Vegas, and I think Nakamura was maybe 15, maybe 14. I'm not sure, but he was still quite strong, obviously. And he made in this kind of position, not exactly the same, obviously, but kind of similar. He made Bishop G5 move so quickly, like instantly, and I felt, oh my God, this guy definitely like understood chess on a higher level, like very fast, like a rocket, like very quickly. So to me, this kind of moves actually supposed to be done very quickly, because this bishop is bad behind his own pawns, and king side looks so unprotected. You must play bishop g5. You must try to trade dark color bishop and at least somehow simplify the situation on the king side. I mean, my opponent played here knight a4, which completely shocked me. And here I knew, okay, something must be done. Something with this king side has to be done, And I never actually bothered myself to play b3 or b1. Obviously, this is so boring. And I choose queen h5. In fact, Houdini gives like almost winning, like rook f7, which I kind of missed it because I saw this part and I saw I can play this, but I kind of didn't see what to do against this move. I kind of couldn't see what's going on here. But then Houdini gives simply capture and play here, and black's position in a big trouble, which I missed it. I have to admit it, I missed this. But my way also wasn't bad. My way actually second line of Houdini, and also pretty much winning. So idea was right to attacking right away. The thing is, if you go back on g6, and then after this, I don't think so, black's position is defendable. Black still with too many threats, like bishop h6. You can't play here because I'll take followed by rook f7. And this is smart because I attack c8 rook as well. So I knew the main move is here, this. And then I saw this strong move, rook f3 in my calculation. And yeah, so here I thought this is like pretty much over. Because you can't really take my pawn because rook h3 followed by sacrifice, it's like mate there. So main move g6. And then that's what I saw in my calculation. So I said, okay, I'm going to capture. I'm going to get away. You can't get away because rook f7 wins. So the only move, double up, temporarily shot because of backup problem. But then after g3, and here I stopped my calculation, and I thought this is like clearly, winning, no defense, because I knew there's no more tricks. Black bishop must be retrieving on g7, and this is just bad. And when I have reached this position, and again, as you see the whole game, white showing domination of light squares, it's reminding me the story when I was a kid. Petrosian once played, when very first time he played against, back then, very talented player, Enrique Making, Grandmaster Making from Brazil. And I think some Soviet Union Grandmasters have been scared of Making because he was so amazingly in tactics, so creative. Like he was calling himself Young Tal, Young Fisher. And when they told everything that Petrosian said, so we'll see how he played positionally. And the whole game he built up just to make sure the opponent never had a chance to do something. And I think the game was actually a demonstration of Petrosian, positional skills. He just killed the Making by simply using all these light squares. It's kind of remind me that game. And there's many games like that. One of my games I provide here, not my games, I provide a game between Karpov and Kasparov. If you remember when Karpov beat him, first match between them, when he had his fifth win, it was amazing, like a demonstration how Karpov beat Kasparov by simply outplaying him on light squares. And several games. Also, one example here provided game between Fischer and Spassky, when Fischer destroyed the hanging pawn in the middle of Spassky's center formation, played e4, and then control light squares. Those games are get going. Many games like important. So this is maybe one would be like addition to those games. So in here, but when I made a mistake, after reaching almost like a crushable position, so I knew I'm simply winning here, I played this. I kind of stopped thinking here. We were tired. By the way, this game has been started like 7:20 p.m. and we finished the game actually around 2 a.m., guys. And at this point, it was already almost midnight and I don't know, 11:20 maybe. And I knew King H3 it's a move, and that's what my first impression was. And I kind of said, oh my gosh, I mean, end game, another like 2 hours or whatever play. In fact, it was like clearly winning here. Clearly. Like, gosh, I mean, extra pawn, 2-on-1 on queen side, bad king on h8, fantastic, like light squares. So I said, kind of lazy, I said, oh, this is going to be faster. Let me mate my opponent. But to give a credit to my opponent, he found like very nice defensive moves. So I thought this is like I'm going to win this right away. But what I missed, after this, there's no mate. There is no mate, and black actually defends everything, back rank, like h7 square, and they want to play rook f8 to trade the rook, so there's no mate. So here, and especially both we've been tied, and my time also was going around out of time, so I said, okay, time to play just decent moves. Rook h7, Varun trying to, create some chaos in the game. D5, good practical choice. But here I'm trying to get back to control of this game. And I knew this endgame is supposed to be, let's still win. So now kind of we reach time control, we're fine, I have extra pawn. And people can say, hey, opposite color bishops, they draw. It's not true. It's still a win for me. It's only required to have some nice technique, which I kind of did it. So rook b2. Yeah, this first part, I'm trying to keep my pawn on the same color as enemy's bishop to control, to take away squares from my opponent. Now, my next step, I'm going to relocate my bishop on e4 on this diagonal because I'm trying to support my pawn to be pushed. So bishop d5 goes here. The only square. You can't go here because you're going to get kicked more. So king f7. Now a4, rook a1 must be done. Now next step, I'm going to use my king. My king trying to at some point maybe jump on f5 and kick more. Black king. Yeah, this part has had to be very serious. Very nice defensive move, bishop d8, and I think I made another decision. Because this type of position called complex endgame. And why it's called complex endgame? Because there's always a chance to get mated or to be mated, or to create mating net. So that's why I took this pawn by keeping these two passes. And actually, main reason why I did this, because I saw I can kick black king more to the edge. Rook d7. So far, I played this game, actually this part of the game, great. And after this, I made a wrong decision. I knew from studies, let's say from endgame studies, capture on e5, it's not smart because it gives a black bishop extra chance to get back to the game. All right? And I knew primarily I was supposed to consider these moves. But I made the wrong pick. It's not like I'm kind of not winning the game. I'm still winning the game, but it still was a wrong pick. The rule which I learned for myself, even being grandmaster, but I still learned to myself for future, it's very simple. I kind of knew it, but I would say, disrespected maybe, I don't know, because I thought, I played here because I thought it's important for my king to be around the center, because it takes away square from the bishop. But I think what I did wrong, and I have to admit this, I had wrong priorities. Because the whole game I've been playing for light squares. This part I've been playing against the black king and the black bishop. And I kind of stayed consistent in my thought, but it was the wrong plan. And thing is, after rook h6, the position changed. Position changed, and since I did it to keep my two passers, it means I have to keep my king around my strong side. So simple win, I guess the simplest way to win is this. And now clearly black has a trouble, because if you defend the bishop, my pawn's rolling. Alright? Simply rolling. If you play this, then I have this very strong move, and now big problem. If you leave 6th rank, you deal with king g6. If you keep 6th rank, then I'm simply pushing my pawns, and if my pawns, when my pawns will reach 5th rank, game is over. I guess that's the most important point for you guys. In this kind of cases, in this kind of endgames, always try to keep your king on your strong side. I played king e6, and it took me another extra hour to win this game. Because I kind of gave up blockade, but I knew it'd still win, because it's hard for black to defend. So first failure, kind of, I thought I'm winning right away by playing this, but then I couldn't see like an improvement after king g8. And if I play king e6, then he plays bishop g5. But here I found nice at Zugzwang. So after this, after bishop e6 check and he played king h8, I played first g4. Well, again, black's option not exactly too many, because they can't move the king. They can't leave kind of back area for black rook, because if you move there after bishop f5, you're going to get cut, and then it's simply lost. So you have to basically make a move with your bishop only. Now, another like a waiting move, because it was important for me to have his bishop on h6. So let's say if he goes there, then I have bishop f5 move, and I have a kind of threat. Alright, so when he made a check from f4, and then he goes back there, then again, bishop f5, same things. And now the problem is, let's say, I mean, it's not a big problem, but still could be an issue. If you play here, you might deal with this move. And I have this threat, 2 checks pick up the bishops. So this is going to be kind of problem for black. And black played here after my bishop f5 move. They went here. They went here. And now coming back to my previous play about shutting down the black rook and supporting my king to go forward. So different between this position and, let's say, when we have after move 57, bishop on g5. What's going on? If you go back here, let's say bishop h6 now, then I'm going to play here check, kick you back, and then rook b5 followed by g5, and it wins. That's the main difference. But the main move here, which I was looking, is king h6. But I have to admit, this is like almost 2 a.m. We're both tired, and we both had no clock. I mean, no time on the clock. So we're kind of playing blitz in this case. Even my opponent had more time, but it's still hard for him to defend. And after this, my opponent kind of made basically like just a losing move right away. After this, he played rook a8, and after this, just resignable. There's no defense. With tempo, and he can make a check because I have discovery check, and pretty much game is over. King f5, check. So finally my pawns reach 5th rank. So mate 1 comes. Yeah, my pawn tried to make mighty rook. But after king f5, it's finally like Zugzwang, and nothing's going on. There is no checks, and my opponent simply resigned here. I mean, he made this, he made that, he made this, but that doesn't matter. It's a time scramble. He lost. So the whole game, my opponent was trying to defend light squares. And only because one move, 9 move a5, after this, the whole game he been trying to solve an issue. And after actually his mistake of bishop takes c4, I don't think so he was ever able to fully equalize the game. I mean, he had the chance to play bishop g5, but again, it wasn't giving him like a full-time like equality. So, guys, message for you guys: next time when you are thinking about to make those decisive pawn movement, you're definitely responsible to know your plans, to know your ideas. Otherwise, as happening in this game, you could be in trouble and struggle and suffer whole game just because one immature decision in opening. So I hope you like this game, and I hope you learn this lesson. Good luck to you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.